Okay, hi, my name is Sevi, and I'm going to be presenting on this week's lesson on the punctum art and emotion. So we had three readings this week. I'm going to start off with Gordon Graham's piece, Philosophy of the Arts, Art and Emotion. What I took away as sort of the main premise of this piece was that art should alter our understanding of emotion. So, what Graham really wants to put out there is that art's value doesn't come from expressing emotion, but from actually transforming your understanding. So, it's not just about making you feel something, it's about making you think something. That's the value of the piece, is what it's provoking inside of your brain, not necessarily just, do I like it? Does it make me happy? These sort of more service level emotions. It's about really making you think. They say a good play is when you leave the play liking it, and a great play is when you leave the play wanting to discuss the play. So that's sort of what he's putting out, is it's something that makes you want to process and want to think. That's the value of the art. So next we had James Baldwin, The Creative Process, and my key takeaway was that artists must challenge what society hides. So the task of art is to reveal truth, maybe more hidden truths. This is what we see later on in our screening, is, telling a story that's a more hidden story, something that's not necessarily talked about so much and harder to talk about. But that's what Baldwin is telling us. Artists need to face hardships and put that out there, because that is the meat of the art, and that is what is going to bring in Graham's point. If that's what's going to make people think about the art, is when you're discussing something that is more hidden and that society is more against. And he also talks about art's aloneness, and that is what gives it power, is that it's something, yeah, more discreet, and that is the beauty of it, is that you're bringing something to light. So then we had Roland Barthes, which this was sort of our main big reading, and he discusses the punctum and the studium. So the studium is more what it's about, just the direct, this is what I'm seeing, this is that, like a definition, versus the punctum is the detail that pierces us beyond. It's almost like breaking the third wall. So the studium's just like, this is what I'm seeing, and the punctum's like, this is what's underneath, and this is what's gonna push you through and make you feel and make you think. And that's what the punctum's about. It reveals things that aren't necessarily planned and aren't necessarily specific, but the reader or the seer or the viewer of the art, that's what they're taking away. That's what's hitting them. So then we had a screening, If Beale Street Could Talk, by Barry Jenkins. And this was set in the 1970s in Harlem. And this was a love story with our two characters right here. And this was pretty much just a very intense piece where you're seeing the studium. It's a narrative of love, racial injustice, a battle, hardship, but then also family, friendship, very beautiful. But the punctum here is the intimate moments and the silence. So what you're seeing beyond just what's being told to you. We know the plot, we know our main characters, we know what's going on, but the punctum is what you see beyond it. It's when you just can feel the moments between these two characters, their chemistry in the silence, when they're not even having a conversation. And when you just have to infer what's going on, that's what brings you into Gordon Graham's point, where you're thinking about the art. It's changing your understanding. It's not just, I'm watching these two characters battle through and I'm going to see them get their happy ending and it's going to be beautiful. It's in those in between moments where you have to pick it apart on your own and you have to get your own narrative from it. And that's the beauty of the art. And that's what this film is really showing us. So then we had some photography by Angelica Doss. I think I'm pronouncing that right, The Humane Project. And here she did a bunch of portraits where each background is sampled from the subject's own skin. So I picked three here that I just thought were, I don't know, they called to me. I just thought they were nice portraits, I thought we got a unique range here. And this was basically to reveal the infinite spectrum of human tones. We can't just define people by one race. You're black, you're white. Every single person's skin tone is different, and that's what this really shows when you take their tone and you make it the background, and you can see in this bigger overlay on the side, none of these match, even though technically some of them are the same race, same ethnicity. None of those skin tones match. And so this is basically the punctum here is you have to look beyond just this these are pictures. This is art. Great. It's telling us that, every race is different. But the punctum here is, what does that mean? What does this mean about racial injustice? What does this mean about identity? There's things that you have to break down here, and that's the punctum, is going deeper on your own in your own thought process and taking away your own narrative. Because again, it's not just about what it makes you feel. Because I see this, it makes me feel, oh, great, that's great art. It makes me feel happy and a little confused. But no, I have to think, well, what does this mean? Why did she make this? And how is it going to be, how is it implemented into something larger than just art? So the themes this week, art generates understanding, not just emotion. So this is definitely a theme we see throughout all of these pieces. It's not just like, especially if Beale Street could talk, you're not just watching a story that, yes, it's sad, it's very sad, and then it's also very happy, but you have to think about the greater themes, about the racial injustice, about the war going on, about the battles, about the hardships. You have to think and debrief these things. You can't just say, oh, this makes me sad, but then they're cute and romantic, that makes me happy. Art generates understanding, not just emotion. It has to. As well as art reveals truth and transparency if you allow it to. So if you allow yourself to think deeper into these themes being presented, then you can see the real truth, the hidden truth that art, you know, that, as Baldwin says, art is supposed to reveal what society is kind of pushing down against. So if you allow it and if you allow yourself to think deeper, you will see these hidden truths that art is meant to present. And that's the whole theme, that's the whole purpose almost of art, is to make you think and to make you look deeper. So I did have two discussion questions on this week. I said, what can you recognize as the punctum in Angelica Das Human Project? And how does Jenkins' Beale Street visually express the war between beauty and injustice? And how can you separate the beautiful romance going on here while also seeing the truth and the hardship that's going on? And how can it express the war between beauty and injustice? So thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoy my presentation.